Okay. The reason why the Wolli Creek Valley is really important is best seen on this map. This green colour here represents closed canopy forest, like you've walked through this morning. And the only bit of it in this whole area through here that's of any size is the Wolli Creek Valley here. And bits of the Upper Bardwell Valley, its main tributary. This is what it looks like close up. It's a thin ribbon, pretty hard to manage, but it's really important for that because there's a 4.5 kilometre walk through that you can do, without crossing a road these days, which we think is phenomenal in the inner city. It's part of the 13 kilometre long Two Valley Trail, which goes down here to Tempe and then up the Cooks River Valley to Campsie and catch a bus across back to Bexley. Well, it's all that greenery is on its way to being a regional park under the National Parks and Wildlife Service, and they currently have all the green bits in their possession. The brown bits, they apparently in the last few days they've broken a logjam in their negotiations with Canterbury Council. There was some peculiar status of some of the land that made it really hard to transfer across, but all this brown stuff's going to come across to Canterbury Council, from Canterbury Council to the National Park fairly soon. That leaves just a few bits that are problematic. This big bit here got excellent salt marsh on it. The RTA is actually remediating at the moment because it's slightly contaminated land, and they will hand that over when it's finished. This is Sydney Water. That bit down that far end there is Sydney Water, and there's big disputes between the two departments and not going to be resolved quickly because it's part of a much bigger kerfuffle. These narrow bits down here, these are all privately owned and they'll have to be compulsorily acquired. And they're real problems because the guy who owns this block down here, this first block next to the brown, he's just gone through and cut every shrub down. Every shrub. Left the trees, tree preservation order and all that, but he's cut every shrub. It was a beautiful piece of Sydney heathland. Just phenomenal. It's devastating.
Is he living
and we got to get him quickly.
Is he living on it or?
No house on that block. He's got a tiny, you can just about see it. I don't even think you can see it on this one. But up the top here, there's a tiny little battle axe run down alongside there. There's a house on the big block there, but nothing on this block back here. So everything below that one down to here is just cleared. Just awful. That leaves this bit down here. That's the bit you've walked through. That's the bit the RTA is refusing to hand over. That's this bit here. This is what it looks like from the air. You can see it's a really dense piece of bush. And it's very nice bushland, all recoverable. You've seen some of the work that's happened in the areas you've gone through. It's only 2%. It's only 2 hectares, so it's only 4% of the valley. I mean, really, why are we worrying? It's just that's what they've said every time. It's only, and eventually the salami process eventually finishes up with no bushland. So sometimes you just have to say, well, no, it's not good enough. And the other thing that weighs in that is it's actually 10.7% of the priority bushland. This is the third highest priority in the whole valley that was identified in the management plan that was developed for the National Parks people when they took over the land, started taking over the land. They still got there. So what the RTA is planning to do, the purple here represents the, this is their map by the way, the purple here represents the existing M5, goes underground at Bexley Road here. They want, for reasons to do with reducing pollution, but all sorts of other engineering constraints, no more lens of rock where they can't just duplicate it here. They're changing the route because they need a lower gradient. A steep gradient coming up here is causing trucks to emit lots of diesel particulates. Bad, bad, bad. No, there are no health effects, so I don't know we'd worry about that. But what they're going to do is to build a tunnel in rock through here, so that's all along under the other side of the road here. Might lose a few walls, but I don't think there'll be any major disruption from that. But then when they get to here, the land falls away really steeply, as you've seen. It's really steep, and so they can't do a tunnel in rock because not enough safety in the rock above. So what they're planning to do is a cut and cover tunnel. This is what a cut and cover tunnel looks like. This is the one they did in Hyde Park for the railways in the 20s. That's kind of only 2 lanes of rail, and they're going to put 4 lanes of road. This is what 4 lanes of road, just the tarmac. That's the width of it. That's a nice photograph taken down at the end of the road here. And it's very, very big. And of course on top of that, you've got all these other things. You've got the road shoulders, drainage, tunnel walls, excavation work, so you've got to have the sloping side so it doesn't all fall in on you. And then you've got, of course, site sheds, machinery storage, truck movements, really steep, awkward slope, where are you going to get in and out? And on top of that, all the stuff you take out here, you want to keep on site because you're going to put it back and recreate the ecosystem, aren't you? You might be able to do it in Hyde Park because it's just trees and grass. But here, you wouldn't even be able to get the rocks back in the right places, let alone all the bugs, the microbes, the small orchids, all those kinds of things. It's gone. You get something back, but you will not get back this kind of complex ecosystem. So what we're facing is something that's going to be very, very large and create a big footprint. This is the footprint they created when they did the first tunnel. These are the site sheds. These were the offices, the admin offices, and this is the footprint. We think that's gone, the whole lot. You might just lucky stop just short of that bioretention basin, just because it's there. It really, it's basically gone. So what do we propose instead? Well, we say don't build any more motorways anywhere because it's madness. We're facing peak oil, we're facing climate change, so it's really bad news. And what's the problem it's supposed to solve? Congestion. Well, congestion's got its advantages. It works equally for everybody. The rich travel at the same slow pace as the poor do. You put a price on the road, you price the poor off, and the rich still travel. And that, of course, is very popular with the better off. They're happy to do it. The other thing that doing it is you build more road space, more cars come. This road was filled up within 2 years of being built. There are roads in LA that are 20 lanes wide that are congested. But you cannot solve congestion by building more roads. So why build more roads? Why not solve the congestion problem in a different way by tackling the real constraint here, which is the size of the peak that goes with commuting traffic. You have to build for the peak, like you have to build the power stations for the peak in air conditioners in the afternoon. Well, get people off their cars. And you don't do that by pricing them off there. You attract them off there by decent public transport and leave the congestion alone. It will drive people off the road of its own account. It'll be those who can do it most conveniently much better than pricing them. So we would say that's what you do. You just do that and do a number of other things. Because when you build these are very, very expensive. So you not only suck people off public transport because you've built more road space, you also suck all the money out for infrastructure, so you can't build any more public transport to take off the people who are causing the congestion. So not a good plan. There's a whole package of measures that were developed by Ecotransit Sydney and the Australian Conservation Foundation that you can track through our website, which go into the detail of that. But it's more heavy rail, more light rail, serious light rail, to try and deal with the situation, and a few changes to the price structures that people face that you need to do. Oh, there you go, probably enough. Questions? Oh no, I've got one more thing to say, which is we're not going to solve this problem by legal means, because the legalities are all in the favour of the dominant forces of the government will just roll over us. The Land and Environment Court, pro-development, the Department of Infrastructure and Planning, pro-development. No way they're going to stop this on environmental grounds, unless, because they can always be persuaded, unless there's a really big public outcry about it and the politicians start saying, well, not a good idea, we don't want to do that, find us another solution. The RTA, I've got a great deal of faith in the RTA engineers. If you tell them they've got to find a solution that goes through and builds their road without going underneath, they'll find a solution. I don't believe they should go for that solution. I mean, they shouldn't build it at all. But they will find another solution. They do not have to do this. So there's a good spiel of that. And the other thing to remember, of course, is this is just this end. There is another end to this. And one of the things that's always been in their plans has been to do this right round to General Holmes Drive, join up with there, another bottleneck. We'll need another motorway there, won't we? Because every time you fill in a missing link, you create another bottleneck, and then you need another missing link. And of course, they'll put pressure onto the road up through temporary reserves, the one that Tempe 2020 fought so well against. But it's not over. They'll just raise it. They might stick. I mean, it was a promise made by the old government for one thing, Forget that. We're on a promise from the old government that all this will be regional park. Well, that's, you know, the RTA just waited till the government changed and then... No. Any questions?